Good afternoon and welcome to the Sustainable Materials Management webinar series, a joint effort between the National Recycling Coalition and the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center. My name is Wayne Bowen and I'm the program manager for the center and will serve as the moderator today. We'd like to extend a special thanks to Bob Hollis of the Mobius Network for providing the webinar management software for this series, and Lisa Ruggiero and Laura Flagg of the National Recycling Coalition for assisting the RMC with webinar promotion and technical support. Today's webinar focus is Sustainable Waste Materials Management educational institutions and the use of the new ReDi Index to measure the success of zero waste programs. Our presenters today are Al Matazowski and Brendan Bagley. Following their presentations, we will conduct a question and answer session. If you have a question or comment, please use the dialog box in the GoToWebinar box located on your control panel on your screen. You may also use the dialog box to request assistance if you are experiencing technical difficulties during the webinar. Please note that an edited version of this webinar will be made available for viewing via YouTube links on the National Recycling Coalition and Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center websites. And now I'd like to introduce our presenters. Al began working for Penn State in the Operations Department of the Office of Physical Plant in 1984 and has held a variety of positions. Presently, as Program Manager of Central Support Services, he is responsible for labor, equipment, and solid waste services at Penn State University's University Park campus. Al has been the leader of Penn State's waste management efforts for 20 years. In 2014, Penn State diverted 8,340 tons from its waste stream. Penn State's current recycling rate is 57%. During Al's tenure, special event recycling programs at Penn State have been recognized at the state and national level for excellence and creativity. Currently, Penn State has 7 special event recycling programs, and these programs have diverted in excess of 3,200 tons of material from the landfill and generated over $800,000 that has benefited many scholarships and philanthropy. Al is the co-inventor of the ReDi Index, a software program for measuring waste streams that is owned by Penn State. Al has previously served on the board of Center County United Way and currently serves on the board of Centerpiece. Brendan Bagley is the IT project manager at the Office of Physical Plant at UPark. He is the former U.S. Army officer with a BS in Ag Business Management and a Master's Certificate in Software Development. He is the go-to person for the enhancements regarding the ReDi Index. And now I'm going to turn it over to Al and Brendan. Okay, Al, you're on.
Well, thank you very much for that fine introduction, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here to share with you our waste management program here at University Park. On your screen, you'll see 3 pictures. The top picture is the Trash to Treasure sale. We're in our 14th year. That program has raised in excess of $660,000 from landfill-bound waste at student move-out in the spring of the year. Our sale this year is on May the 30th. We have 35 tons in Beaver Stadium, and we're expecting about an additional 10 to 15 tons. The next picture is our football tailgaters at Beaver Stadium. That's the north wall there with our blue carts and the tailgaters enjoying what we hope will be a victory in Beaver Stadium. And the third picture is 2 handfuls of our Penn State compost material. The objective today, why isn't that advancing, Brendan? Okay. My objectives today is that you will appreciate Penn State's commitment to recycling and reuse initiatives. We have many of them here at Penn State, and many and varied, and we'll touch upon them today, but we only describe a few of them that are the kind of the drivers of our recycling, waste diversion, and composting program. That you understand Penn State's refuse and recycling efforts to some degree, identify waste handling opportunities in your facilities, and we do hope to introduce you to the ReDi Index concept, and Brendan will be doing that. Why do we do what we do? Well, in Pennsylvania, Act 101, which is the waste minimization law, began by saying that communities of a certain size, and they've changed that size number, but it's currently, I believe, 10,000 people, must have a recycling program, and there were funds, grant monies available. So Penn State certainly qualified with a 49,000 student population at University Park and 10,000 faculty, staff, and tech service people that are employed here daily at Penn State. AD 34 is our administrative policy. We've just rewritten that policy that talks about waste management and our preferences to recycle and compost, because we are at the 57% diversion rate, so we do more diversion than we do landfilling. There is a savings associated with managing your waste, and we believe that a university has a responsibility to demonstrate environmental stewardship. Even if there are costs associated with it, we've got to dig a little bit and figure out the best way to manage the waste and then share that with the world when we think we've come upon the best idea. So what do we do? That picture of the fellow in the Tyvek suit, that's Brian Heaton. Brian Heaton is doing a waste audit, or he's demonstrating a waste audit. We do professional audits here at the university. We're the only ones allowed to go into the waste stream, as a matter of fact, because risk management will not allow people to dumpster dive. That is against university policy. You see a little bobcat up there, a little bobcat loader that's stirring our compost, and a gentleman there that's enjoying his food, and anything that's left over in that plate will become a feedstock for our composting program. So we do audits, we do waste stream characterizations on campus, low-hanging fruit opportunities. Now, we're talking about a very mature program. When I started in 1995 as the program manager, we recycled 20 things. Today, we recycle 105 things at Penn State. And I'll tell you, it's with the same budget. So we're getting money out of the avoided cost. I'm not sending it to the landfill. And our landfill that we use is 72 miles one way from here. So the way that we do it is we do pilot programs. It's a chemistry experiment, if you will. We capture the data and then we make decisions. And those decisions are made by a lot of people, the stakeholders that are involved in the process, the waste management team, Nadine Davitt, who is our supervisor of operations, myself, and many folks that are out on campus in green teams that want to move toward the environmental sustainable direction and at the university. So we then develop programs and processes, and then we continue to modify programs. We begin programs, we continue to modify and press programs forward on campus, and there are several and many, as a matter of fact. So who? Well, the Penn State waste manager, that would be me. We work with the local recycling coordinator. Some of you I do know. I've looked at the list. You know Joanne Schaefer, our county coordinator. Joanne is wonderful, as is Ted, to work with here in central Pennsylvania. We have a lot of partners within and exterior to Penn State, a lot of people that are advocates of our program. They are proud to participate in it. Several of them are in our central administration. Our president, Eric Barron, and Vice President David Gray and Nick Jones carry their materials out and do source separation in their facility, and they would tell you they are proud to do it, to demonstrate it, and to participate in our program. We do belong and support professional organizations, and here on the campus community, we rely on them to do the right thing, and we've never been disappointed. Faculty, staff, and students are the people that we go to in support of our program. We ask them to support us. This certainly has been researched, and we think we have one of the finest campus communities, supportive communities in the country. How do we do it? We monitor the key components. We're always looking at the waste stream and doing waste audits. In fact, we do audits weekly here at Penn State. A lot of it is education and outreach. We are part of classroom curriculum. This webinar is an outreach opportunity. That top picture, you know, Barbara Angeletti, she used to be at the University of West Virginia. Barbara is now out in California, and Barbara is at a Penn State football game a couple of years ago with some of my men, and he brought two colleagues along, and they're learning how we did our tailgate recycling operation at a Beaver Stadium football game. Diversifying the waste capture scheme. This is something that, with 105 things, we must be vigilant in looking into the waste stream and looking for opportunities. Stimulating advocacy, we do that, I believe, on this campus. There are a lot of people. I do about 60 tours of the waste program a year, and people tell me they walk away inspired, or at least they value. Once you drop it in the bin, where does it go? And one thing that we pride ourselves on is staying the course. We do not turn back. Once we offer something, we do not turn back on that commodity. We committed to it. We get the people putting it in the right bins, and then forward we go. We don't take it out because we're not making money on it, if you will. The cost to our operation for refuse is $67 a ton and a 144-mile round trip to the landfill, the Green Tree landfill. We pay for bagged recycling at $20 a ton and $5 for unbagged materials, delivering it to the Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority. This is what our program looked like in 1990. It was very Spartan. We had primary routes in refuse. We were sending a lot of stuff to the landfill. We recycled cans, glass, and newspaper in the early going. We did not have aesthetic concerns when we began to grow the program, but I will tell you now that aesthetics is one of the things that we must meet with, because our folks that do project management don't want Al's ugly bins in their buildings. They want well-designed, attractive bins. We actually have a category of 4 that we use. Today's program looks like this. We have one primary refuse route. We have a compactor route, which includes 8 compactors on campus, which are compactor yards. The compactor is surrounded by a dumpster for cardboard, a dumpster for mixed office paper, blue carts that would receive bagged recyclables, and composting. That's what our yards look like. We do recycle cardboard, mixed office paper. These are what I call a dedicated route. It comes out of the building into a dumpster, out of the dumpster into a truck, out of the truck onto the floor of the MRF, and done. Nobody else touches it except that person bringing it out of the building for those 2 commodities. Cans, glass, plastic containers, those are a little more of a challenge. Composting and newspaper from the newspaper readership stream, we have to keep separate because we're marketing that. And special events, shredding, soil manufacturing, we do all of these at Penn State. We market our pallets, used motor oil and antifreeze, that's marketed. We actually get money back from that. We manage all types of batteries on campus, scrap metal, ferrous, non-ferrous, fluorescent lamps, and compact fluorescents. We also have and manage a contract service for our renovation services people and any large ones. You can see the top picture is one of our stake bodies that picks up material, and that 30-yard roll-off is how we go around campus and drop these roll-offs on demand, and people use them for whatever the purpose. They tell us in advance, I'm going to put scrap metal in it, I'm going to put mattresses in it, I'm going to put blue bags or football in it, which is what that picture indicates, and we manage all of that material. Special event recycling. We have a special event recycling program at Beaver Stadium, at the Bryce Jordan Center, which is our basketball arena. We have the Thon, which is the dance marathon that raises money for young people with cancer, called the 4 Diamonds recycling effort. We support them. We do offer zero waste tailgates at football and other venues. We have a 100-ton glass challenge, which simply means if we get to 100 tons on campus, and we can't do that without the help of our res halls, then we donate any funds beyond the $100 to the student affairs people, and they use that money however they see fit. We have a recycling program in our baseball stadium, and there are some pictures. That center lady, I want to give homage to my beautiful wife of 43 years. That's Sharon. She's not stealing those bags. That's at our Penn State football games, and those bags are free. We have 190 A-frames and 70 dumpsters that all dispense blue bags and clear bags for waste, trash, and they are strategically placed. We have this all committed to a CAD map, so if anybody out there would like to have one, you can email me and we'll send that information to you. So we do all manner of special events. Students doing innovative recycling today was a group that wanted to do composting at tailgate. If you'll notice the first 4 letters, it's DIRT, D-I-R-T. I made them T-shirts and thank them for their support. The group that you see there with the green shirts are the staters. They are the students taking action to encourage recycling. They support waste management opportunities on campus, football, Special Olympics, and so on. Newspaper readership scholarship is at $102,000. The Environmental Resource Management Scholarship is at $20,000. These are dollars that have been donated by people that manage our materials. We have special requests, so Ag Progress Days, Ag Alumni Tailgate, that's the last game of every year at Beaver Stadium, and Special Olympics. They need but ask us, and we supply those at no cost, at no fee to the people, as they support our efforts. blue carts that you see for the staters, we have 290 of those placed strategically around 110 acres of tailgating at Penn State, and then the rest of the material goes in blue bags, and those blue bags are managed by my labor, landscape, and the custodial folks at the football game cleanup on Sunday after a football game here. So trash is a cost, recycling is free. That's kind of our mantra. Our trash to treasure sale, I just mentioned, 850 tons have been diverted since we started the program, and we've raised $660,000+. Those two folks at the bottom are very dear folks that I admire tremendously, and I know them and worked with them. That's Sue Paterno, and the gentleman is Colonel Russell. Colonel Russell was a war hero. He passed a year ago. He is in Arlington Cemetery. That gentleman was a Marine colonel. He fought at Iwo Jima. He was there when they raised the flag at Suribachi. He was in the room when the Japanese surrendered. He's quite a hero, and you know what? You'd have to pull that out of him. He wouldn't tell you. He wants to learn about you, and he taught me so many things about leadership, and God bless him. And so some future management initiatives, green committees on campus. These are folks that live in the buildings, they work in the buildings at Penn State, and they try to make the buildings greener. And they meet regularly, and they have leadership coming out of the Sustainability Institute. They can earn a Green Paw Award if they do a good job. We do styrofoam capture at Penn State. Our styrofoam becomes bicycle parts, picture frames, little tchotchke items that students would get in elementary school, like a ruler or a pencil case. The No Can Do program is a program that we've installed in 342 buildings where we have removed office trash cans. Everybody has a recycling bin because 97% of the waste stream that they generate, we have a response for. That's what the ReDi Index measures. So if there's only 3% of the stuff you put in a trash can, you don't need a trash can. We ask you to carry it out and put it in the containers as appropriate. So we're about promoting the ReDi Index. We've done a Runkle Hall pilot, and that was done by students. And the Runkle Hall pilot is now in 53 of our residence halls because it was so successful. Students turned a 30% diversion building in 6 weeks to a 72% diversion, and the leadership in the residence hall said we need to follow their lead. The county MRF pilot, we've done that, and we found opportunities in the MRF to send material down to the CCRRA, and we do commodity blending to a degree. We are a source separation university, but we will blend certain things as long as it doesn't affect market, so we can increase bins in the corridors of our buildings. I am held to 7 bins. I'm not allowed to put it in. So we blend newspaper and mixed office paper in the same container. We blend miscellaneous plastic. We blend plastic bottles and plastic film on our campus. And if you'll watch that bottom picture, this cost me a lot of money. Look at that trash can going away. That's our objective. We want to become a zero waste institution. Here are some of the numbers, folks. The savings to the university is certainly significant, and our potential savings, if we get to 85, which we believe is an achievable diversion rate, we have one building on campus that is at 89% diversion, and that's our central administration building where our president and our vice president reside. And our largest stream at Penn State are organics. That stream is over 4,000 tons. We make our own compost at Penn State and our own mulch. Here are some of the other numbers to give you a flavor for what we manage. And if you have any questions and you type them in, I'll try my best to respond.
Al, would you like to answer a couple questions right now?
Absolutely.
Okay. I guess it was one of the first slides that you had your recycling and disposal costs. Does those costs include the collection and transportation?
They do not. That's the tipping fee cost right there. So the collection and transportation is an additional cost, and we are funded by our central administration to do that. Okay. So once we collect the refuse and we dump it on the floor, it's $67 a ton, but all the costs associated with the collection fall to our office. So we try to be extremely efficient, as you can appreciate, I'm sure.
Yeah. But your point is the distance to the landfill is much longer than the distance to the recycling facility. So in theory, your collection costs would be cheaper from a transportation perspective.
That's exactly right. It's a 6-mile haul down to the county MRF as opposed to a 72-mile one-way haul to the landfill, and it's $67 to tip refuse, and it's $20 and $5 if we're dumping on the floor of the MRF just 6 miles away. The compost material is on our property, and we don't charge ourselves. We do charge some auxiliary services that make money that charge other people, and that's allowable by university policy, but there is no fee for managing the organics. And we do make 70% of the mulch that's used on Penn State's campus, and the estimated value of that mulch is $100,000, and that comes back into our budget, and with that we drive operations, obviously.
Okay, how do you deal with your shredding of sensitive documents?
Well, I'm a HIPAA trainer. We have a fee for people that are members, and we tightly control who that person is. They own it's an opaque nylon blue bag for paper documents, and it's a white nylon bag, opaque bag for anything that's electronic that they want destroyed. We manage both of those. The fee, they subscribe, and there's a certain number of bags annually for the subscription, and then beyond the subscription, it's $25 for us to pick it up and take it where Penn State people will destroy it in our library here on campus. So if we go in and before we touch a blue bag, if the papers are strewn about, my men know that they are to refuse that because they are the ones that have the security, if you will. But once we touch a bag, we don't let anybody look in it, even if the person that just dropped a piece of paper in there says, I want to look in that bag to pull something out. We tell them, no, you must follow us out to the shredding center, and then we will tag the bag. It goes under lock and key, if you will, out in a truck, and we deliver it to a place where there are 10 cameras, so you can't do anything inappropriate there. And we guard that material, so that's how we manage our shredding. And we have many subscribers, actually, on campus.
Okay, we do have a couple more questions, but I think we'll wait till after Brendan's presentation. So go ahead, Brendan.
All right. So, folks, the long and the short of the story is regarding the ReDi Index is that it's built upon two numbers: your response and your diversion rates. Al came to me thinking I was a person who knew a whole lot about technology, but I just knew enough to make an Excel spreadsheet up that allowed the individual with the numbers to put them into a spreadsheet and then subsequently categorize them based on the way that they handled the waste stream, whether it was a response that did or did not have a green response, meaning whether or not it was diverted away from the landfill. So our ReDi Index, RE for response and DI for diversion, focuses on an entity's ability to ensure that they are tracking the items that are placed into a receptacle, that those items are divided into different categories, as many as you have. Al mentioned earlier that we use 7 essentially here at Penn State. And then subsequently, those are broken down and weighed and then entered into the ReDi Index questionnaire. The page that you folks see here is for all of our members of ReDi Index. You come into this questionnaire, and one of the first things you do is you fill it out. There are multiple sections on this questionnaire. The top one is cans in regard to the commodity types. Above the cans, you'll see what type of institution you are, what type of locale you are, and I'll hit the drop downs on these. The list for institution type is based off of a North American business code system regarding different types of institutions. So we just use that as our way to categorize different types of companies or institutions. This way, if you ever wanted to group your data on institutions that do the same type of work, you would then categorize them, you would group them in the same number. An example for Penn State, of course, is educational services, which is highlighted, that's number 61. We then subcategorize into your locale, whether you are urban, suburban, or rural. Then, based on your weigh slips, you have two categories of diverted tonnage, the things that are not going to go to the landfill. You have a weight for those. And then you have your total tonnage. Moving forward, if you wanted to, you could put in the number of people in your organization. And just for an example here, if you wanted to know the pounds per person, you could, for an example, have 800 folks in your organization. It then shows you how many pounds per person. This is something that at one point, Al will remind me who wanted to know this information, pounds per person. Who likes that with entity? There's a governmental agency that might talk about that.
Yes, there was a governmental group that asked us if we could make it do that.
Right, so a governmental agency asked us if we could do a pounds per person. So our customers, as part of the ReDi Index, provide us feedback and things that they would like to see in the index. And if we can have a way that it is beneficial to all of our customers, we'll input it. Now, I'm not going to go through all of our commodity types, but I will at least show you the headers for each of them. Cans, glass, paper. I'll slowly scroll down the list here. We cover our plastics, metals, organics, batteries, electronics, lighting, production and delivery, medical, nuclear, contaminated fluids, and mining. So in each one of these categories, there are different ways that you, your company, your entity, might subcategorize them. So as an example for cans, if you commingle them, you can use that category, or if you actually break them out and then weigh them, you can put them into their different subcategories. So the intent is that once you've determined that you have a particular commodity type, you then come into the index and put the weight, the mass of it in the total tonnage amount, and also select how that commodity type reaches its final destination. Is it recycled? Is it incinerated, landfill? We have several different ideas, we have several different ways that waste is handled here, and our algorithm in the background then takes, depending on the answer that you provide, whether or not it is a green or non-green response. It is that simple. Green or non-green response. A green response is something that does not bring the commodity type into the landfill. So things that do not go to the landfill are considered green commodity types. So then, with our application, we then determine, after you go through and input all of your different commodity types, that's completed, you save your questionnaire, and then you're brought into the My Workbook section. Now, before I get into the My Workbook section, I'm going to show you how the folks in our application can work with each other. By choosing this Compare Results section, when the page refreshes, you will see here all of the companies that are part of the index, and the most important thing, rather than you sitting at your desk in your own organization using your own Excel spreadsheet and wondering who has a better way to handle a waste commodity you're having difficulty handling, this application provides you the ability to research other members of the ReDi Index and see how they handle it, and reach out and contact them to hopefully improve your waste diversion efforts. As you can see, we have several companies here, and you can filter the companies. You can simply filter for a response type. I'd like to know who commingles their cans and has a green response for that. By simply clicking cans commingled, I can click filter, and then subsequently it'll show me all of the companies that also have cans, and for their commingled, mind you, just that category of commingled, also have it in commingled and how they handle that commodity. I then click on that entity. I can see the total answers they have, the number of green answers they have, what their response rate is. So total answers, how many questions they answered on the questionnaire, green answers, how many of those answers diverted away from the landfill, and their response rate, which is 100% in this case. Then their weight and their diversion rate. So as you can see, although the response rate was 100%, there's still some small level where these numbers do not exactly match regarding diverted tonnage and total tonnage, but they're pretty darn close to 100%, and that provides their results for the ReDi Index. So as I look in the top right-hand corner here, I'll use my cursor to show you, their response rate is 100%, and they divert 100% of that from the landfill.
It's a zero waste program.
This, ladies and gentlemen, as according to our ReDi Index, is indeed a zero waste program. A lot of folks use the terminology zero waste, but nobody, as far as we can tell, has a way to quantify it. With our application, you can actually quantify zero waste. Additionally, in this, when you take a look at a company that you found on your search, you can click to see what answers they answered with a green answer approach. And cans is the one I was most interested in, and you can click on cans, and you see they have two different types. They have cans commingled and cans aluminum, and in both cases, rather than recycling, they return them. So different state handles it a different way, and they return those cans. You can also see the other answers to the questionnaire because, again, they answered all of them with green responses. There were no other ones. And if you wanted to reach out to this company, the contact information is there. So a lot of folks have basically said, our customers and others have said, boy, the ReDi Index is kind of like a Facebook for waste management, for trash. So that's our intent, is to get our customers, members of the ReDi Index, involved with each other to improve their waste management program. Additionally, as I mentioned before, you can also filter on types. So I'll clear out this top search so that we're showing all quantities. And if I just wanted to look for, okay, so if I scroll down here and I wanted to find educational services, I could filter, and we'll see all the ones with that. So as you can see here, all these are educational services related to an educational entity. And you can also subdivide by tonnage and by total tonnage. So this is different ways. These are different ways that you can filter the data. So you're starting a program, and we have always said that our utilization of the ReDi Index starts with doing an audit. An audit is the most important thing you can do for your program, in that you have the best understanding after doing an audit of what your waste stream looks like. Is it can heavy or aluminum heavy or steel heavy? Is it paper heavy? Is it compost or organics heavy? That is the way that you best determine where your waste is going to go. So having said that, you also want to be able to figure out, is there a way that I can start to predict or see the future after I do some waste on it? Well, as I mentioned before, we have the section called My Workbook, and in here it actually provides you the ability to execute a waste audit and record that information. After you record the information in a waste audit, it will then populate your most recent waste audit. After you do one, will then populate back up to your questionnaire. So swing back up here. I've put in my cans, I've put in my paper, et cetera, et cetera. And because we haven't done one right here, the numbers aren't here, and I'm not going to go through that exercise now, but it will actually show your potential amount based on your audit of where your program could be as compared to the total tons. So again, we have an algorithm in the background that does the math and then takes your pounds, equates it to tons, so you can see where your program is tracking and how well or poorly your program might be doing as compared to where you are right now, what your potential is. All right. In regard to the application, I want to cover one more spot here, and then we'll continue with questions. In our glossary section, some of you might have questions regarding how do we consider something green or not green. That's the biggest question we get. When we have this item, and I hope everybody can see this relatively well, we have the My Questionnaire item. Each one of our categories, or each one of our streams, the way that we handle them is defined here. Landfill, incinerate, recycle, waste to energy. Some folks have asked some questions regarding the calculation of energy, and does that play into our index? It does not, because different states have different ways that they calculate energy and how that impacts the environment. All we do to be safe, if you will, is to state that we have non-green waste to energy because there is no non-regulated harvesting of BTU. That is our primary focus in regard to any type of burning in regard to recycling efforts. And of course, we have other items: reuse, compost, sanitary drain, return, construction and delivery, in-house or contract. And again, some of our customers have come back to us and said, can we add another way that we have a green answer for our particular commodity type, and we vet it and ensure that it makes sense across the board, and we'll add that to the index as well. Okay, so that essentially ends this portion where we wanted to talk about a tool that we use. And again, it's a tool that we use that we believe that it's a great way to share information among other folks in the index, as well as find companies, contact companies that do work in regard to plastics. That might be a great way for you to divert your plastics, as an example, from the landfill by contacting a company that will pay you for your plastic. So again, we consider this the Facebook of waste. Oh, as an example, there's a company here in Pennsylvania by the name of Concord Plastics. They are also members of the index, and they reach out to Red Index members to help them with any difficult plastics folks don't know how to handle. That's essentially it for our presentation portion, and we'd like to answer any questions that are still out there.
All right, thanks, Alan and Brendan, for those great presentations. We still have some questions here. This one's for Brendan, I believe. How do the sites or locations that use the index know what their weights are when they fill in the questionnaires? I guess the question is how do they gather their data?
Okay, I'm gonna move over to the site to make sure that we understand that. I want to make sure we get this right. So I think the question was in regard to the My Questionnaire page, and it's regarding the weights in the total and diverted tonnage. Is that the correct? Do I understand the question correctly?
Well, they want to know where they get the number. I guess, is that reported from their hauler, or is that a weight ticket?
I'll let Al answer that one.
Here at the university, we get a certified waste slip from the Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority. We use those numbers, but we also use our audit data. We have scales that our people are trained in. We do 5 different kind of audits at Penn State, but the index only uses 3. And when we do a waste audit, those numbers come back. We convert it to tonnage. We load it into the index. And then because it's a waste audit, the index knows that any new waste audit data, it'll speak back to the potential list and tell you, oh, you're recycling 13 tons of cans when really you ought to be recycling 57 tons. And that's what the audit does. It interprets the data based upon what your total tonnage is that you've loaded into the ReDi index.
Okay. Now here's another one for Al, I believe. Do you track, or does the university track the CO2 emissions savings conversion from landfill to recycling?
Yes, we do. We have a young lady that's in another department. She does all that tracking. She every year, her name is Shelley, and I call it the Shelley list. But Shelley gets all of the materials, information from us, from our county report that we have to send in February, and she goes through that report. That report is actually what we use as the data input into the ReDi index, and she calculates the CO2 emissions based upon distance of hauling and all kind of other things relative to that. And I really don't know her work as well as she does, obviously, but yes, we do track it. And that goes to our leadership in the Office of Physical Plant, and then we also share that with the Sustainability Institute folks.
Okay, and here's actually a follow-up question to that. You know, you mentioned students being involved. What other examples do you have when you involve the students in your programs?
Oh, we've got many here. I'm proud, I tell you. We have freshmen called Eco Reps. They get paid, I think it's $400 or $500 a semester. They are trained. We have a curricula. They are trained in waste management and energy management and water management, and they act as advisors to incoming freshmen. And anybody has a question about what am I supposed to do with this or how do I do that, then they can approach the Eco Reps, and the Eco Reps will advise them. They also do mini presentations, if you will, maybe setting up a table in the lobby. That's one example. The Staters are a group of students. They are an actual club at Penn State, and anybody that has a function where they want their waste to be recycled or composted. An example might be the quarterback club luncheon, where Coach Franklin gets up and talks about the upcoming football game. These students will stand at the trash cans and advise the people that are carrying the waste up. It's very effective, and it's greatly appreciated by the people that come there. They're learning. We have the president has a tailgate inside of Beaver Stadium, and students from another group, an eco group, they come to that and they advise the people. They did a wonderful video, and we had the athletic director, we had professors, we had visitors, all talking about it's great. You come here to enjoy a great football game, you meet great people, but you also learn something about managing your waste from these wonderful students. So these are all examples of folding the students in here. I also do many presentations to different classes. My recycling tour is required by certain classes on campus, environmental resource management and so on. And they take my class to see where the stuff goes and so on. So we involve the students in every opportunity that we have. We like to involve our students. We deconstruct all of our homecoming floats. There's 60 or 70 of these floats. They bring them to our recycling center. All of the students that constructed them will destruct them, and our recycling waste management guys are there, and we separate the stuff, and that goes away to beneficial use rather than, as it was before, it just got thrown in a dumpster and went to the landfill or a roll-off. Now we deconstruct that, and it's become quite a popular event. Gets a lot of good press. Those are a few examples.
Okay, good. Back to CO2 reductions. Do you have any numbers for, say, last year?
You know, I do not, but I promise anybody out there that email me, I will send you to Shelley McCaig, and she can share those numbers with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, question for Brendan. Is the ReDi Index a free service, and how do they access the program?
It is not a free service. Penn State owns it, and Al and I are co-inventors of it. It is $200 a year. And we do have a demo site if anybody's interested and you want to look at it a little bit more, but to be involved with it and share the information in it, you have to be a member.
Do you have a website for that demo site?
I do, and it is actually, I clicked in the top left-hand corner, the https://redi.opp.psu.edu is the website. And then I'd have to give out the, can I provide you the username and login for folks who are interested?
Okay. Back to Al. How do you determine how often to conduct a waste audit per building? Who's responsible to enter monthly tons per building or department for diversion rates? And how often does your green team meet?
Well, the green teams don't belong to me. They're part of the Sustainability Institute, and they are run by Lydia Vandenberg. And they meet as often as they feel they need to meet. I'm going to say monthly. I am a resource, so they invite me in, and I'll talk about waste management if they have questions about the programs or whatever. And then they can also have people that talk about water conservation, like in the residence halls with low-flow shower heads and so on. So it's really as they determine they need to meet. Now, the other part of the question, help me with that. Would you mind repeating it again, Wayne? What was the other piece of it?
Oh, sorry, I deleted the question.
Okay, I'm sorry. We do, I think it was about auditing. We do audits. We do spot audits, which is diverted material over total tonnage, before we install an improvement to our program. So if we were going to install a new commodity collection in a building, we would do a spot audit and hold on to that data, and then we give it at least 4 weeks for the people to figure it out and begin participating. Then we'll do another spot audit. We do audits anytime we change anything on campus. We're doing audit types. We do spot, we do trash audits for the low-hanging fruit potential. But I can tell you there are so few things that that are in that trash stream now that we don't do as many trash audits. We'll do a trash audit to see if anybody is in need of more education because they're putting a lot of recyclables in the trash stream. And we have a program that's robust, and we would then begin to investigate or ask questions. Why are these aluminum cans ending up in the landfill-bound stream? And then we'll figure out where we need to put the emphasis on the education part of it. The waste audit, we do those in frequently, but they're very expensive. So they are infrequent, but we will do them at least twice, maybe 3 times a year. We plug them into the ReDi Index, and then they tell us how we're doing and what we ought to be doing, and we're usually pleasantly surprised. There are a couple of commodities that are difficult to understand. The miscellaneous plastic stream, for example, is rigid plastic, and it's every kind of rigid plastic that you can imagine. Our county MRF does take them, and so folks, rather than doing the wrong thing, they will opt for throwing it in the trash. We would prefer they threw it in, and with the additional contaminants possible, that it would end up down at the MRF, and then they would pull that stuff out for a fee. But there are some examples of when we do audit, but I can tell you that we are, every week, we're digging in the trash. Sometimes it's a minimal amount. We have things called casual audits where it's just a visual inspection and an interpretation or perception of what's in the trash. We use this whenever a new building is coming online and we're walking through to see, oh, we need to add this bin here, or we're getting an awful lot of that there, or everybody is throwing out the plastic cups into the trash stream, and trying to figure out how we should develop better communication through the launch. And so it's always a work in progress, actually, but that's kind of the way forward.
Okay. Another follow-up for Al. Does Penn State run all their own routes, or do you outsource any collection for third-party haulers?
We do it all.
Okay.
We have 12 people and 16 trucks and 9 compactors. There's over 190 dumpsters for refuse. There's over 190 cardboard and mixed office, because we gang them together. Our front end loaders, we have hook trucks, we have cable lift trucks. We run the whole gamut, and they're all Penn State employees, and they all report to Nadine David, who's our supervisor of operations. So we're it. Now, let's suppose that we had this, we had an event on campus and a tornado went through and there's debris everywhere. We would need help. We have contracts that the contracts are like a year or 2 old with folks that are in the neighborhood that manage waste, and we would then contact them and say, can you drop some 30? We're going to need some manpower help. We do have the ability to do that, but day to day and all the venues on campus, we manage it by what I've described with the people that are employees of Penn State.
Okay, question for Brendan. How many members do you have in your index program right now?
11. We have 11.
11, okay.
And we will soon incorporate all of the Commonwealth campuses of Penn State.
Okay.
We also have folks, if I may, we also have folks that are members of the index, but they haven't entered any data. We have the ability to see who has actually paid to be part of the index, but they haven't put their data out there. There is some sensitivity with people's programs. They think they're going to be ridiculed, and quite frankly, I understand sensitivities, and there's some groups that have said this or that, but we think that the index is such a fine tool, it actually helps you be more efficient in planning your web program and take it on the road to greater gains.
Okay, one last question here before we log off. Can you give us your contact information? Email address,
Sure.
I guess would be best.
Yeah, I am Al Matashowski at AEM, as in Mary, AEM3 at psu.edu.
Okay, Brendan?
Again, my also email is BJB, as in Bravo Juliet Bravo Brendan Joseph Bagley 30 at psu.edu. Papa Sierra Uniform Echo Delta Uniform.
Okay, thank you. Again, great presentation, Al and Brendan. So we're going to close out today's webinar. Again, this webinar, like all the webinars in this series, has been recorded and will be made available via YouTube links on both the National Recycling Coalition and Recycling Market Center websites. Thanks again for joining us. We hope you'll join us for next month's webinar, and please visit the NRC and RMC websites for schedule updates. Thanks everybody for participating, and thanks for the great questions. And again, thanks Al and Brendan, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you for the
Real pleasure.
opportunity.
Thank you.